He joins us now with his Zen-like reaction. Dan, the chairman of the Center for Freedom and Prosperity. I think I probably know your reaction, but to dig into the details of this to me is interesting because, as Hillary said, there's a difference between what Biden is saying, a tax on financial transactions, and what the other two, with Warren and Sanders, are saying, a tax, I guess, on your net worth, I suppose. Is it kind of a lesser of two evils, or what's your take?
There's no question that a financial transactions tax would not do as much damage as a wealth tax. A wealth tax, you're literally taking private capital out of the economy, and that's going to have a terrible effect on investment, productivity, wages, job creation. It's why European socialist countries have been getting rid of their wealth taxes for the last several years. However, that doesn't mean a financial transactions tax is a good idea. Every time you go to the ATM, swipe your credit card, write a check, it's going to hit Main Street. Now, if you talk to Biden or supporters of this, they'll say, oh, no, Wall Street will pay the most.
Right.
Well, guess what? Wall Street, those transactions can move to Cayman, to Zurich, to Hong Kong, to Tokyo. So it's really another misguided tax in this class warfare Olympics we're seeing in the Democratic primaries.
So let me take it apart on both sides, because we did a little digging on the wealth tax idea today. And some of these economists, actually out of Berkeley, believe it or not, came up with this analysis. And it was interesting because it brings up the big name people that are billionaires. And they basically said, if you had a wealth tax in place for years and years. They went back and said, as a hypothetical, it was there since 1982. Jeff Bezos, who's the richest guy out there, right? He's $160 billion in net worth now. If Warren's plan was in place all those years, he'd be worth $87 billion. So basically, in half. If it was the Bernie Sanders plan, he'd be worth $43 billion. So, not like Bezos would be out there, begging for money, but that tells you the effect. And then what's the knock-on effect of that kind of thing, Dan, in terms of jobs and, as you say, where the money moves?
Two things I think are important. First of all, left-wing economists like Larry Summers, who was Obama's Treasury Secretary, he says that those revenue estimates are a total fantasy because what do rich people have? Lots of lawyers and lobbyists and accountants, right, and they'll figure out how to avoid the tax. But secondly, what those economists at Berkeley have done, they've done the opposition research for Trump because they're saying, look at all this money that will be transferred from the private economy to the government. Now, I don't know Bill Gates. I don't know Jeff Bezos. I don't know whether they're good people or bad people, but I know one thing. Yep. They'll spend their money much better for the economy than if we turn it over to Nancy Pelosi and Mitch McConnell and Donald Trump and all the rest of the clowns on Capitol Hill. You
think the transaction tax, a financial transaction tax, at a minimum, something like that is something that should be seriously feared by the kind of, what do we say, investor class, by investors in general going into 2020, whether it's, Trump in a second term, whether it's Biden, that we're kind of going in that. It's got a lot of populist appeal. Do you fear that, or should investors fear that?
They should fear it, and it does have populist appeal among people who don't read beyond the headlines. Yeah. But when serious Democrats behind closed doors begin to look at this and they realize the negative effect it'll have on American competitiveness, I think they'll blanch a little bit and sort of rethink the whole issue. Here's the main problem, though. The Democrats, with their Medicare for All and Green New Deal and all these other pie-in-the-sky, multi-trillion-dollar programs they're proposing, they need giant piles of money. You can't get it out of the rich. There aren't enough of them. Right. Which is why, ultimately, this debate is about how we're going to pillage the middle class with value-added taxes, energy taxes, you name it. The middle class is the one that's in the gun sights. No,
you're right. We've done those stories, and you've helped us with them in the past. Literally every dollar from the so-called rich wouldn't be enough, so it has to trickle down to the others. Dan Mitchell, always good to see you. Thanks for coming on.